Hello, I've been getting a couple video comments about ways to clean more. Ever since the other video I put out about just basic shifting techniques and simple ideas, way to create check patterns in everything you do, movements. People asking some really good questions about what it is that makes them an instantly clean tenor drummer and little things that they could work on. I got some more detailed questions like, how do you clean the UNT scrape pattern from 90 whatever 6 or whatever. I'm not going to claim to try and play that or learn it. I mean, I just basically don't have time. I watched it. It's bad to the bone, and there's a thing that Bill Bachman says on his videos about it. It's real fast and, a lot of singles. But I can kind of give you a basic idea of what you can use to apply everything that you're doing to a lick like that. But first, I want to say that most of the stuff that I see when I watch tenor lines nowadays, whether it's outdoor, indoor, or whatever, BOA, it doesn't matter. When I see a good tenor drummer, I have to say most of what I see is good, tasty writing being controlled. Meaning it's not all of the fancy scrape, stuff that is more of a flashy solo approach, but it's simple things like implements, when to move. Spend some time, I like telling my students to spend some time understanding when to move their sticks. That is huge. You could tell a lot about a tenor line based on just the visual element of when and where they move their sticks and how confidently they do it. I see that a lot when I study the Blue Devils line. Everything is real, the approach is real, clear, or the cavies, or I can go down the line and name any successful tenor line. That's the stuff that I think gets overlooked. So some of the examples are simple things, simple writing, like we know that there's going to be paradiddle diddles. We know that is going to be somewhere in your book. It's just the way tenor drummers or tenors are, the way they lay. So practice cleaning that idea up. How do you play a paradiddle diddle? Well, first off, cleaning it on one drum. Then move it. Take a hand away if you want. There's lots of exercises like huckadigs, triple build up, that work on those kind of things. But aside from that, a lot of stuff that I get into that I really like, if I could just kind of play a little bit of some of the tenor music I like, is when I see groups play things like this, where they're just playing tasty, that's the stuff that really puts numbers on the board. Not only from a judging standpoint, but from a standpoint where if you want to make a drum line, be able to go confidently and say something with it. Which leads me to my next comment. What you play is what you say. That same lick could look like this. And there's nothing to it. You're not saying anything. So what you play is what you say. Even when you're playing like... those are rounds that are probably a unison lick with a snare line or the bass line or whatever, or maybe it's a voice leading passage, but they need to be phrased and shaped. And so more of the stuff that you do, the way you practice and how you approach the instrument, think of yourself as a voice. Nowadays we have not just one Spock, not just two, but there's 3 on my particular pad. So there's a lot of different sounds you can get just by playing in one area or pulling back a little bit. Whatever you're playing, what you play is what you say. Some other things that I really like are basic diddles, basic diddle patterns moved around the drums. I love all this stuff. I love the strings. I love watching it. But I also love only watching it for a small amount of time, which is weird because I'm a tenor drummer. It's kind of like when too much of it is happening, I feel like I'm watching Flight of the Bumblebee on tenor drums. So I don't want to see everything, you know. I want to see stuff like here, you know. But how I'm doing that and the way that I control my implements, what I play is what I say, is important. So don't get discouraged if you get a book that doesn't have a lot of Flight of the Bumblebee, as I call it. Be encouraged. You know, if there's stuff like, then nail it. You know, there's a lot to clean there when you're just taking flam patterns around the drums. You can clean stuff like that. So what you clean is a matter of how you perceive it. That's basically it. I could take anything and, for me, make it feel good to go around the drums. I'll give you a very basic idea. An exercise that I learned from Mark Thurston called combo number 1. The snare part goes like this. Pretty basic. If we wanted to move some of that around, you know, the first part, paradiddle, paradiddle, flam, 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 boom. Just that. You know, and then the 6th tuplet in the next part. Put those together. You know, that's not anything too fancy in terms of quad, Flight of the Bumblebee-ness. Then you know, just to be able to go. So the whole thing, you know. Fairly simple stuff in terms of rudiments and phrasing, but what you say is what you play, and what you play is what you say. Really taking stock on playing those flams down the drum, you know? Flam patterns, you know, like I was mentioning before. And then from there, it's limitless what you can add. So it's an open-ended question in terms of what you clean and how you clean it, but I would really approach the simple things with just as much delicate and finite detail as you would if you'd sit down and practice that, you know, Flight of the Bumblebee octopus lick for hours. Because the stuff that puts points on the board to me is this kind of stuff.